The American West, a land of rugged beauty, untamed wilderness and whispered legends that echo through time. Around campfires under starry skies stories were shared, tales of daring mountain men, cunning trappers and fierce Native American warriors. These stories, passed down through generations, painted a vivid picture of a time when the West was a wild and unforgiving frontier, a place where only the strong survived. And among these stories, few are as gripping, as gruesome, and as hotly debated as that of Liver-Eating Johnson. Imagine yourself huddled around a crackling fire, the smell of pine needles and wood smoke heavy in the air, the chill of the night creeping in. A grizzled old trapper, his eyes twinkling in the firelight, leans in and begins to speak, his voice carrying the weight of countless tales. "Ever heard tell of Liver-Eating Johnson?" he asks, his voice a low rumble that seems to resonate with the very earth. You shake your head, captivated by the air of mystery and the promise of a story unlike any other. He smiles, a knowing glint in his eye, and begins to spin a tale of a man driven by vengeance, a man who struck fear into the hearts of his enemies, a man known as Liver-Eating Johnson. His real name, the trapper tells you, was John Jeremiah Johnson, a giant of a man, they say, with hands like bear paws and a gaze that could curdle blood. He came west seeking solitude and a life free from the constraints of civilization, yearning for the freedom that only the vast wilderness could offer. But the West, as it often did, had other plans for him, plans that would test his mettle and shape his destiny. It tested him, broke him, and ultimately forged him into the stuff of legends, a figure both feared and revered. They say Johnson was a man of simple tastes, whiskey, solitude, and the thrill of the hunt, finding solace in the untamed beauty of the land. But beneath his rough exterior, he nursed a deep and abiding love for a Flathead woman, a love that would ultimately set him on the path to becoming the notorious Liver-Eating Johnson, a man whose legend would endure through the ages. The story goes that Johnson's wife, heavy with child, was brutally murdered by a band of Crow warriors. This heinous act shattered Johnson's world, leaving him a broken man. Driven mad by grief and fueled by an unquenchable thirst for revenge, Johnson swore a blood oath. He vowed to avenge his wife and unborn child no matter the cost. He would kill every Crow warrior involved in his wife's death, and to add insult to injury, he would consume their livers. This act, he believed, would not only satisfy his vengeance but also curse their souls for eternity. This gruesome ritual, he believed, would curse their souls for eternity. It was a dark and twisted form of justice that he felt was the only way to honor his lost family. And so began Johnson's reign of terror. He became a relentless force, driven by a singular purpose. Armed with his trusty Hawken rifle and a bone-chilling war cry, he stalked the Crow warriors relentlessly. His presence was like a shadow, always looming, always threatening. The Crow, once fearless and proud, began whispering his name in hushed tones, their hearts filled with dread. The very mention of his name sent shivers down their spines. They called him the man who eats the livers of our people, and the name stuck, Liver-Eating Johnson. His reputation grew with each passing day. Stories of his exploits spread like wildfire through the taverns and trading posts of the West. People spoke of his deeds with a mix of fear and admiration. It was said he could track a man for days through the most unforgiving terrain, his senses as keen as a wolf's. No one could escape his relentless pursuit. He was a ghost, appearing out of nowhere to exact his revenge before vanishing just as quickly, leaving behind a trail of fear and whispered legends. His ability to disappear into the wilderness was almost supernatural. Some say he kept a tally of his victims, carving notches into his rifle stock for every Crow warrior he slew. Each notch was a reminder of his unending quest for vengeance. Others claim he wore a necklace strung with the dried livers of his enemies, a gruesome trophy of his vendetta. This macabre adornment only added to his fearsome legend. Whether these stories were true or merely the product of overactive imaginations is a matter of debate, but they added to the growing legend of Liver-Eating Johnson. His name became synonymous with vengeance and terror, a dark figure etched into the annals of Western folklore. One particularly harrowing tale tells of the time Johnson single-handedly tracked a group of 20 Crow warriors into the Bighorn Mountains, a place known for its treacherous terrain and unforgiving weather. He stalked them for days, a silent predator in the shadows, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. His patience and determination were unmatched as he moved like a ghost through the dense forest. When a fierce blizzard descended upon the mountains, Johnson saw his chance. The howling winds and blinding snow provided the perfect cover for his attack. Using the cover of the storm, he picked off the Crow warriors one by one, his keen eyes piercing through the snow's veil. Their arrows fell harmlessly around him, blinded by the swirling snow, while his rifle barked with deadly accuracy. Each shot found its mark, a testament to his sharpshooting skills honed over years of survival. By the time the storm cleared, the snow was stained crimson with the blood of Johnson's enemies. The once pristine landscape now bore the marks of a brutal battle, and true to his word, they say, he took his grisly trophies from each fallen warrior, a grim reminder of his victory and a warning to others. Another legend speaks of Johnson's escape from a Crow raiding party, a tale that further showcases his indomitable spirit and cunning. They had finally managed to capture the elusive mountain man, binding him and taking him back to their camp to await his fate. The Crow believed they had finally subdued the legendary figure, but Johnson was no ordinary man. His strength and resolve were legendary, and he was not one to accept defeat easily. During the night, as the fire died down and his captors slept, he managed to slip his bonds. His movements were silent and calculated, every step a testament to his survival instincts. He grabbed a nearby axe and, in a display of terrifying strength and ferocity, fought his way through the entire Crow encampment, leaving a trail of carnage in his wake. His fury was unmatched and his enemies fell before him. He escaped into the night, the screams of his enemies echoing behind him. The darkness swallowed him, but his legend continued to grow. This act of defiance only served to solidify his fearsome reputation among the Crow and further cemented his legend in the annals of the Wild West. Johnson's name would be remembered for generations, a symbol of unyielding strength and relentless determination. Perhaps the most intriguing tale of all involves a tense standoff between liver-eating Johnson and the Crow King himself. The Crow King, a wise and powerful leader, had grown weary of the bloodshed. He sought out Johnson, hoping to negotiate an end to the cycle of violence. The two men met on a windswept plain, their figures silhouetted against the setting sun. The Crow King, adorned in full ceremonial regalia, offered Johnson a chance for peace. He offered him horses, weapons, even a place among the Crow nation. But Johnson, his eyes burning with a cold fire, refused. He would not rest, he declared, until every last one of the warriors responsible for his wife's death was dead. The Crow King, recognizing the depth of Johnson's rage and the futility of further negotiation, offered a counter-proposal. He challenged Johnson to a single combat. The winner would take the other's life, and the feud between Johnson and the Crow would finally be laid to rest. Johnson, respecting the Crow King's courage and his willingness to sacrifice himself for his people, accepted the challenge. The two men fought with honor and ferocity, their weapons clashing under the vast Montana sky. The duel raged for hours, but in the end, Johnson emerged victorious.